Now to the battle over reopening America's schools. With more than 40% of children in the U.S. still learning remotely, officials are now facing off against some teachers' unions over how to safely get kids back in class. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Rashawn Sivaraj is one of the millions of American children who haven't been in a classroom since March.
I want schools to be open, but I don't know when they are going to be open because of COVID.
Rashawn's dad, Siva, is a single father of two and worries about the lasting impact of virtual learning.
My oldest is the one I'm most worried about. He's really struggled to find motivation in school. I mean, he's borderline depressed. He goes from his bed to his gaming station. He used to be an honor student, and his grades just rock bottom.
The contentious battle over reopening America's schools is heating up from coast to coast. Things especially tense in San Francisco. City and district leaders going head-to-head, reaching a breaking point last week. San Francisco city officials sued their own district and school board in an effort to get those students back in classrooms.
We're not here to be divisive. We're not here to point the fingers. We're here to ask you, to beg you, to work with us, to continue to work with us, and get our schools open.
Teachers' unions and district officials on Sunday coming to a compromise in a tentative agreement to resume in-person learning, something many parents and students have been calling for.
Thank you for being here. Please maintain social distance.
Meredith Willa Dobson is the co-founder of Decreasing the Distance, a parent collective that's been working since summertime to see schools reopen. She helped organize this march over the weekend.
It's been clear that as we're approaching quickly a year into the pandemic, with these kids learning from home for that whole time, and we're seeing real impacts.
Kevin Robinson agreeing, saying remote learning is just not working for his son.
Of a 7-hour day, he's doing about 1 hour worth of learning. I mean, this is San Francisco, it's February, and it's beautiful out here. We could have had outdoor schooling since day one. That's not rocket science.
But teachers we spoke with say it's not so simple.
We want to feel supported by the city, not attacked by the city. We're being asked to put ourselves on the line as frontline workers, but aren't being prioritized in the vaccination rollout in the way that many people think we should be.
About half of states are now giving vaccine priority to some or all teachers. The new agreement in San Francisco will allow classrooms to open when the city drops to red tier COVID levels, the second most restrictive level of California's reopening blueprint, if on-site staff are given access to COVID-19 shots. And if the city progresses to the orange tier with moderate virus spread, staff have agreed to go back without vaccinations. Right now, San Francisco is still in the purple tier, the most restrictive.
In San Francisco is the infrastructure. School buildings here are old. They don't have proper ventilation. There needs to be adequate supplies to keep everybody clean and safe at school.
California has been hit hard during the pandemic. A large number of its 6 million public school children have not been in a classroom since March of last year. Nationwide, more than 117,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported in children last week alone. In total, nearly 3 million American kids have been diagnosed since the pandemic began. But the CDC says opening schools can be safe with proper precautions.
The data from schools suggests that there's very little transmission that is happening within the schools, especially when there's masking and distancing occurring.
I'm not less worried because we have data, we have more examples of how other districts are opening safely.
ABC News contributor Dr. John Brownstein of Boston Children's Hospital says it's also important to consider the mental and emotional impact of virtual learning.
What impact does virtual learning have on the mental well-being of children and their development?
Yeah, I think especially as you look at children in the earlier grades, they're mostly the ones that are impacted by this virtual learning. They are not getting the same type of attention and care that they would do in an in-person environment.
11-year-old Iris Martinez and 10-year-old Alondra Margarito tell us they're struggling with learning online.
I don't learn that much, and I get distracted easily by my background noise, and since I don't have that much space in my house, sometimes it's difficult to understand the teacher if my internet is not working that much.
The Stanford Center for Research on Education Outcomes estimates the average American student has already lost half a year of learning in reading and over a full year of learning in math since the pandemic began. And we're seeing clashes over school openings across the country. Teachers in Chicago threatened to strike over COVID concerns. Sunday, they reached a tentative agreement with the city to start bringing some students back this week.
Fears and frustrations have been heard.
In Philadelphia, educators have protested to demand safer working conditions.
We're asking that everybody come back to school in a safe school.
On Monday, the city announced a joint effort with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to vaccinate teachers. Los Angeles also has no clear path to reopening. City Council member Joe Buscaino threatening to sue the LA Unified School District, the second largest public school system in the U.S.
Threats of lawsuits, finger pointing, and speech making won't help. Let's roll up our sleeves and get to work.
And back in San Francisco, it's still unclear when the first students will be in classrooms once again. That tentative agreement between the teachers' unions and the district still needs to be ratified, which is expected next week. Lindsay?
The stalemate continues in so many areas across the country. Our thanks to you, Rena.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.